What's up, guys? Cameron here. Happy hump day. This is Wednesday when we're recording this, but hopefully I'll get it uploaded today, so it's still hump day for you guys. Hopefully you guys are having a great week. The week's going by pretty fast, strangely enough. But today I want to talk about why smartphone cameras suck. And I've been into smartphones for a very long time. I've been switching smartphones probably every month since I was probably about 15, 16. In about 2007, when the iPhone came out, that kind of changed the game for everybody as far as smartphones go and cameras go. So there's a 2 megapixel camera in the original iPhone in 2007, and that kind of blew everyone away. Like, holy crap, I could shoot a decent shot with something this small. And ever since 2007, smartphones have gotten so advanced that nowadays you have a company like Huawei with 50 times zoom, and it's a little clear. That's the ultimate creeper lens, but there's so much software involved in cameras and smartphones, and smartphones have gone a tremendous way. But I wanted to talk about how it'll never compare to a full frame mirrorless camera or a full frame DSLR that I'm shooting on right now. I'm shooting on the Canon EOS R, and yeah, the Pixel 3 lineup is probably the standard for smartphones right now. There's a lot of software involved in that image processing, and the reason why you need a lot of software with smartphones is because you can only pack so much in a smartphone. Smartphones are doing so much nowadays that there's so much stuff going on. You have the battery, you have to fit in the CPU, the GPU, you have to fit in the charging connector, which is Lightning or USB Type-C, a headphone jack if it has one, wireless charging. That unit is about that big. And you know, a lot of gaming phones have intercooling systems, and you know, your smartphone does everything. It has to fit antennas and all sorts of stuff like that, while a full-frame DSLR is just the camera. So you have an image processing sensor and pretty much your an image processor and your sensors, and that's about it. It's devoted to produce the best image possible, and you could see that in just the image sizes. So if you take a picture side by side, let's say a picture of me like right here, and I take a picture with my smartphone camera, the image size is only going to be about 5 to 7 megabytes. If I take a photo with my Canon right here, the image is probably going to be around 50 to 75 megabytes. The Canon is capturing so much more data and so much more light because the sensor is about that big. So when you have a sensor that's about that big, it's 35 millimeters full frame, and it's capturing so much light and so much data that you can edit and post without any quality damage. And stuff like that. With a smartphone, you're packing in so much. I mean, if you take a look at this Samsung S10e, look how small this is. Look how small this is compared to the iPhone XS Max. So you have a phone that's this small, and by the way, this has the same camera as the S10 and the S10 Plus that are the same size as the iPhone XS Max. You have a camera that's this small. How big is the sensor in a phone like this? You have to fit in all the other specs of the phone in here. There's hardly any room for the sensor. So smartphone sensors are about that big. How much light can you capture with something that big? Not very much. So you have to use software. So that's why the Pixel 3 came out with night mode. So it's using software to sharpen the image, up the exposure, and not get so much grain. And iPhone has less software, relying on its hardware, which that's why the iPhones, they look a little worse than something like the Pixel because it uses less software. They're really relying on their hardware when they should just follow Google's algorithms in their cameras, their camera software, because you cannot possibly put in an image sensor that is big enough to capture a photo that really professionals are going to be pleasant with. There's just not enough room. So it's great for the day-to-day stuff, taking pictures of kids, if you're going on a hike and you just want to capture a sunset, something along those lines. But if you actually want to take some great portraits, if you're going on vacation and you want to take some photos to edit later, you're really going to want to use a Canon DSLR. So all the smartphones right now, they pretty much suck, and some are better than others. Like the Pixel 3 is the benchmark. The Huawei P30 Pro is probably the next. And the iPhones are probably next after that, but they still don't compare to the mid-range DSLRs. So that being said, you're gonna want a real camera to take with you, and I don't recommend a point and shoot like the Canon point and shoots where the lenses aren't interchangeable, and I don't recommend a Sony A6300, A6400, A6500, those crop sensors where they're interchangeable lenses. What I recommend is getting a pro, not a pro model, but intermediate model, full frame camera that's a couple years old, because you get a discount on it. And if you have great glass, you can make some amazing quality you get amazing quality out of these photos, just like you would on an expensive body. So what I recommend is you invest in an actual camera, not one that's going to break the bank. Something like the Canon 1DX Mark II, that is $5,000 for just the body. You're going to want something like the Sony A7 II. This has an 85mm Sony lens on here. Sony glass isn't that expensive, so that's why I'd probably recommend going with a Sony. The dynamic range is better than Canon. And you can get this body for under $1,000. This right here, you could get the body with the kit lens. The kit lens is a 28-70, 3.5. The aperture goes from 3.5 to 5.6 depending on what focal length you're in, but this body with the kit lens is under $1,000, and this came out in 2014, but it's a full frame mirrorless camera. It's not a crop sensor, so you're going to capture in more light. So full frame means that it's a full 35mm sensor. The smaller crop sensors are about 23mm. You want the biggest sensor you could possibly get your hands on. That means more data, that means more light, so it's going to be great in low light situations. You put a 85mm like I have here, 1.8 aperture on there, it's going to be killer in low light, and you're going to get that super nice bokeh effect like I got behind me right now. I'm using a 35mm 1.8 right now, so the bokeh is really good back there. So smartphone cameras suck. I highly recommend getting an actual camera, and that will probably make you stay with your current smartphone a little longer if you actually have a dedicated camera. Because, well, the main reason why we get a new smartphone is because of the new camera technology. Samsung came out with a new ultra wide angle lens this year. iPhone's going to do the same thing. The Pixel's going to have new updates to their camera. So there's not really something a software update can't do to our current phones to make them up to date. People want the latest camera, and I'm gonna stick with, for example, I'm gonna stick with my iPhone XS Max this year, not get the iPhone 11, because I have a dedicated camera. And something like here, like the Sony A7, like the Sony A7 II, that's full frame. This is plenty enough for me to, you know, get the shots that I need, edit them, and have some great photos. And even in 5 to 8 some odd years, smartphones will still not catch up to this camera that came out in 2014, because they can't fit the sensor in there. There's just not enough room. So invest in an older camera if you're budget friendly, and roll with it. Start taking some great shots in RAW, and learn how to edit. Go into Lightroom, start messing around with the saturation and tones and stuff like that, and just start learning that style of photography, and you guys will have a blast with it. Photography is addicting. So that's my 2 cents for the day on why smartphones cameras suck, and I'll see you guys later.